Hey there, what's up, folks? Welcome to episode 105 of WP Roundtable. Today, I'm here with Rami Abraham. He is a new member of the team over at Affiliate WP, working with Pippin and his team, and we are looking forward to learning all about Rami and his job, all the things that he is involved in. Rami, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
I've been really looking forward to this episode because you're somebody that we haven't had much of an opportunity to talk with in person. But I've heard a lot about you, and I know you've been involved in a lot of things in the community and have a lot of works to your name, and I'm excited about this opportunity to learn all about them.
Oh, you.
So it's a good night. We got our beers. I got something particularly tasty that I'm excited about that I've been saving for this special occasion.
I have to admit, I found out I was out of beer, so I have a sugar-free juice box. And I forgot the straw.
Well,
I'm a big boy.
We'll be interested to see how you kind of solve this situation. So before we dive into learning more about Rami and everything that he does and everything he's going to do, let's cover our quick picks of the week. My quick picks, a couple things here real fast. I was just reading through this article that I thought was a pretty good resource because this seems to be a common question that I bump into. A lot of people not sure where they fall. This article about the difference between URLs and URIs, which many people completely understand, completely get it. And also probably many more, think they understand, think they totally get it, and tend to be the very vocal ones about what's right and what's wrong. And this seems to be a really good way to, this article breaks it down in a simple way for everybody to understand so we can all get on the same page, so we can all stop correcting each other and go on with our lives. So I'm going to share a link to this awesome article, and I encourage everyone to read it and go on with their life. And the other quick pick of the week is for anybody out there who enjoys a good chuckle. I had a good laugh at the Twitter hashtag WP Reviews in Real Life. So if you haven't experienced this part of Twitter, for those of you who maybe have been involved in WordPress for a while and you know what it is like to get reviews that make you scratch your head and say, what's this person thinking when they list this review? WP Reviews in Real Life is a really great hashtag where a lot of witty people with time on their hands decided to make us all laugh with their tweets. So check that out on Twitter. And Rami, do you have anything to share?
There's been some pretty cool WordPress related things going on constantly, of course, but shiny updates and the direction those efforts are going in are really cool. And Affiliate WP, we are probably more of a 2.0 thing. I think that's the milestone right now. We'll be adding that in as well. But I really like seeing that sort of attention to micro interactions and revisiting components that really get forgotten. I mean, I cannot think of the last time before all this shiny update stuff started happening that I even thought about the plugin installation UIs or processes. It sort of sparked attention on micro interactions and related interfaces for the team, and we're having a lot of fun exploring that. I think there's an article on the Tavern, and Post Status likely has, I'm sure, a pretty great write-up from Brian.
I'm sure. Yeah, we've talked about shiny updates a little bit. It was my quick pick of the week a week or two ago on the show, and we had Konstantin Obenlund on the show maybe a month ago, and he's been kind of leading the charge for that awesome initiative, which I agree is something well worthwhile, but also something that I agree I never really reflected on how poor the experience is. So Yeah, that's awesome, and high five to everybody on the team who's getting it moving forward. And I believe there's a merge proposal for it already for
Yeah.
the next release cycle. So exciting stuff, exciting stuff. But I do think that they still need more beta testers. So if you're just somebody who is capable of installing WordPress plugin and kind of walking through some stuff, you would be helpful to the team. And looks like we've been joined by Mr. Marc Benzakein. How you doing this night, my friend?
Hey, so I always forget that you are on a different time zone than I am, and when you said 7 o'clock, that's my normal time. So hey, how's everyone doing? How you doing, Rami?
Good. How are you, Mark?
Oh, I couldn't be better, but this isn't about me.
Mark, we're glad you could join us. We really are. We just got done with our quick picks. Is there anything that you want to share with us this fine day?
No. That I'm even here is amazing. So that's my quick pick of the day, is that I'm actually here. So.
All right. Well, we'll share a link to that in the show.
Yes, please do that. Yeah.
All right. So, it strikes me that after 105 episodes, one thing that we've gotten pretty bad at is we don't really introduce ourselves anymore. There could, in theory, be people watching WP Roundtable episodes on YouTube and being like, who are these clown hosts? I just don't get it.
They're like, who's the actual host and who's the guest here?
Yeah, that's perfectly possible. 'Cause we don't, and I'm too lazy to even create a lower third. Jason would.
I know. Well,
Do I have one? Does it have a 4-year-old tagline or something?
It probably does.
My lower third is actually below the screen, so.
Right where it should be.
Right where it should be.
Yeah. Well, if anyone for some reason is tuning into this and doesn't know who I am, my name is Kyle, and I'm a web developer in Jackson, Michigan, and run a marketing agency, and we make WordPress sites. And here with Mark.
I'm Mark, and I work with a company called ServerPress LLC, where we make some really cool software that does some really cool stuff for people like Kyle who make WordPress sites. And also, I have a boatload of kids, so that's why I was late.
Right. He keeps them in a boat, so we can have.
I keep them in a boat. That I have to keep them contained somehow, and cages are illegal.
I hear that's getting popular now.
What's that?
Boat children. It's really big now.
It's the latest thing, yeah.
I was a boat kid.
Were you?
Oh man. Yeah. Two-masted set sail schooner docked in the Chesapeake Bay. My teacher was an octopus.
You were a pirate, weren't you? You were actually a pirate.
Technically, yes, because of maritime law.
Yeah.
But,
Right. And all those MP3s in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
what's an MP3?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Wah. Okay. Let's learn about Rami. All right. Mr. Abraham.
I guess the biggest thing is the pronunciation actually rhymes with the last two syllables of pastrami.
Well, does it actually rhyme with it, or is it actually just pronounced exactly like it?
Yeah, exactly like it. And spelled.
Because rhyme would mean that it'd be like, pommy or, some other word that makes no sense.
I rhyme words with the same word.
Dr. Seuss is rolling over in his grave right now.
I
really apologize. I'm very sorry, Rami.
It's quite all right.
I'm sorry.
So
you lost me at pastrami. Are you guys still talking about the name thing? Because I'm hungry.
Yeah. Sorry, Mark.
Rami Abraham at this time code, June 6th, 2016, is a developer at a product development company. Affiliate WP is where I spend my time. It's been pretty amazing. I haven't been there too long. However, technically, that is the original iteration of Rami Abraham. I'm technically, I guess, what you would call the future, and I had to come back here and kill him. I know it sounds weird, me like admitting to murder on air that like I killed and replaced that version of Rami Abraham, but because of the time law in my year, it's not a crime. Like if you realize a paradox, especially if you're responsible for it and you're the root cause of the causality loop or paradox, you're authorized to go back in time and stop the event. Sometimes, sometimes that means you have to kill yourself or like kill your great grandfather from day. You know, there's a butterfly effect. But yeah, if I'm being totally honest, that is who I am. Technically the 17th iteration of Rami Abraham, as versions 2 through 16 just, he really, it wasn't pretty. He killed them, so. Yeah, there's a lot of loss of mental faculty.
But you got to tell me about version 1. What was wrong with version 1 that versions 2 through 16 felt the need to come back and destroy version 1? Because it sounds to me like version 1 was probably pretty much just fine to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the actual timeline for Rami Abraham, the correct timeline, is supposed to be he's in St. Petersburg as an old man in the year 2062, and he happens to be walking at the correct position, angle, time of day, yada yada, in which he deflects a bullet for a child that will later invent an amazing, like, revolutionary energy source that essentially frees our species from capitalism and, you know, space travel outside of our system, but because of a pizza that he makes in your timeline about 3 weeks ago, he gets really bloated and passes out on his couch for a length of time that just results in him getting more and more into pizza because the pizza is apparently really, really, really good. Like, I don't remember that pizza. It's not in my particular timeline. But that results in him in 2062 finally getting to that when he's offered the chance to go to Russia. It's for something totally unrelated. It's for WordCamp Earth. But he's just like, I don't want to. I'll just stay home and eat pizza.
So here's a question that I need to ask you right now then. What state are you in?
Solid. Yeah.
Okay, you're in the solid state. In that state of solid, has pot been legalized? I'm just wondering. Not related to any of this conversation that we've been having so far.
Oh, you mean nation states?
Yes,
United States of America. That's still, yeah. No, I'm in Pennsylvania. Yeah. Ingesting narcotics isn't really my thing. Unless.
Okay, so this is just you being naturally you. I was just trying to make sure.
Well, there could be some of us who
I dare you to disprove it, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm not out to prove or disprove anything because this is about you, Rami Abraham.
Right. We want the real Rami.
Okay, I'll stop making things up.
Well.
Oh wait, you making
go that
up? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
You've been lying.
We have a pretty strict lying policy on this show. And there are consequences. It just means...
No, I am indeed a developer. I work on a pretty wide variety of stuff. for the affiliate WP prior to lead for Maintain at Web Dev Studios. Prior to that, I worked for a variety of agencies, some brick and mortar, some remote.
Awesome.
I'm not getting a lag. Are you guys?
Yeah, it's mostly when you're talking, but it could be the whole time-space continuum thing. So I'm,
Right.
Could.
Yeah.
The technology of this timeline just is maybe you forgot what level we're at here.
Well, I'm thinking that this might just be like a holographic projection of Rami Abraham
Could be.
from the year 2063, I believe he said.
Out then.
Yeah. See, there's still issues.
Funny side note. Have either of you explored consumer level holograph related electronics these days? It's pretty non-existent, which sucks because I love that technology. There's some stuff in talk I was lucky to give in December at WordCamp US, and about a month or two ago, I took another look at it. So, can any of it, be built today? I mean, even a crappy, watered down, reduced case, can you build a holographic interface? And the answer is no. You can build a three-dimensional space for interaction in which, you put your hand or finger in a certain place and it registers an action. You can paint in 3 dimensions, but you cannot project at all. We're still pretty much stuck with those $25 shows a hologram of Jar Binks. Yeah, mirror refraction.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's sad that the best hologram that I can get is on my credit card.
Pretty much.
Yeah, disappointing.
Get it together, Obama.
Yeah, just a few months left. All right. So, Rami. Dang it. Last time. That's the last time that will occur.
Really, it's okay.
I want to know and get a better, clearer understanding of the background of how we got to here, where we're at today, in any timeline that you choose. But how did you, what was the path that you followed to eventually find yourself in the role that you play today? And you can go back pretty far. We've got time.
So, I think my first computer was 7th grade. I have the fortune slash misfortune of having a software engineer for a mom. So it was kind of always there to some degree. Like any kid, I rejected it. You're a nerd, Mom. I'm not going to be like you. And then high school, I started getting into it. Fast forward through school for some computer science stuff, and then immediately after that, somewhere along the way, I developed just a huge distaste for working at any corporation, any big company. I'm not going to sell out, man. I'm going to freelance forever. There was that sort of principle in place for quite a while. So I freelanced for several years. I started doing overflow for first agencies in that city, then regionally, then as internet speeds got better, as people stopped being as weirded out by remote work, that grew. And it was pretty fine for a while, but you sort of hit that natural ceiling where you can't schedule things out too far in the future. You can't raise your prices over a certain amount before it's just completely unreasonable. So I worked at one agency, worked at another agency. Um, Eventually, that led to remote gigs. Eventually, discovered WordPress and started using that more and more, and just kept meeting amazing, amazing people. Um, Eventually, Pippin and I became friends, started talking more, started working with Affiliate WP in Omaha in 2014. He demoed the plugin that would become Affiliate WP. We agreed I'd try out some support. I got a few weeks of lead time to check out the core plugin and see how the internals work. Did that for a little while in a very part-time capacity, just because I liked the plugin so much. And, of course, had my day job by then is Web Dev Studios, which is essentially full of geniuses. So yeah, fast forward to earlier this year, I wanted to take a break from client services, move to product development. We're a pretty small team, but really get to tackle some amazing features. And I'm about 2 months in right now. And then regarding physical locations, how I got to where I am now, my bedroom is like 3 doors that way. I didn't go directly from there to this chair. Actually, I may have. But yeah, through some indirect means, I eventually walked over to this desk area and sat in this chair.
Right. Right. So tell us a little bit more about. We've talked about Affiliate WP, but before we discuss too much more about your team and the stuff you do, why don't you explain the product itself for anybody who might be watching who doesn't understand it?
Well, affiliate marketing is a manner by which to track activity through financial transactions. So if you're selling stuff on a WordPress site and you want people to share your products and generate traffic and generate sales, and you're cool with giving them a tiny piece of your profit, boom, what you're after is some affiliate software that can track all of this and prevent things like click-jacking fraud and stuff like that. In the case of Affiliate WP, it's of course a WordPress-specific plugin. It has a pretty wide variety of integrations, everything from EDD and WooCommerce, iThemes Exchange, various membership plugins. There's also a generic method for something that we don't directly yet support. So you can track everything from recurring referrals to one-off purchases, virtual and physical products, and a whole slew of crazy features and add-ons from there.
And it's a great product. We use it at WordPress.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm checking if you have any support tickets.
Not yet. Not yet.
All right.
Not today, anyway.
So I want to know a little bit more about what's ongoing with the feature development. So when you came into the Affiliate WP team, what was the goals? What did you talk about with Pippin to say, like, these are the things that I want to accomplish, or that he wants to accomplish, and you're the right guy to do it? Here's where the product is now. Here's where we want to take it. Talk a little bit about what's happening there to make it so much better than it already is.
That is a very huge question. We are working on everything from, I dare say, the best auto-generated documentation library for a WordPress plugin. We have REST API stuff coming in a pretty soon version. Additional integrations, some scalability concerns, really deep focus on user interface and a variety of different components. Um, a couple weeks before my first day, Drew Janes started as well. He is essentially the Buddha of documentation. Like, he's been writing unit tests. The goal is complete coverage through all plugin properties eventually. We've been working on various documentation stuff. I'm on the creating the documentation library generator side of things presently. He's been ripping apart inline docs. The developer code reference is going to be so good that developers are going to find ways to shoehorn affiliate WP into projects just so they can work with the code base. Like, that's our goal. It's pretty exciting. Documentation is something I'm pretty passionate about, and I really love being able to spend whatever time is needed ultimately to get a solution completed to the best of my ability, to research things. And that came about with documentation efforts after trying out pretty much everything. And the state of code-based documentation generators is largely, each one is very opinionated. These are the things we'll scan. These are the annotation flags we'll look at. These are the languages supported. This is what your docs should look like here. Something that does not style at all, just provides output. Ultimately, that came in the form of forking the PHP doc parser plugin by WordPress core. It's on their GitHub, of course. What that does is add WordPress hook support to PHP doc reflection method. Reflection methods are available in PHP core to generate documentation. From there, there's generation and string routing stuff. We should probably stop talking about documentation soon, though, because I could consume the entire episode quite easily.
Actually, what you're doing is you're inspiring me, because this has been a big discussion that we've had internally within our company for quite some time. Is we actually have tons of documentation, but it's not exactly organized in a fashion that makes it super easy for everybody to lay their hands on. And so there are 3 of us who know where the documentation is, and if we were to all 3 get hit by a bus tomorrow, you know, that kind of thing. And so it's really interesting to hear you talk about it. And I'd actually maybe be interested in talking to you more about it offline sometime. But my real question here is, this is really important, what is that map behind your head?
That, my friend, is the Light World from The Legend of Zelda.
I was thinking that that was a Zelda map. Did you do that yourself?
Oh, no, not at all. There's the Dark World next to it.
Ah, there we go.
That was a trade for some programming stuff I did for a designer friend some years ago. They are really, really stellar. This guy did I mean, look. Like, they're really big.
Yeah, I know. They're bigger than your head, which is amazing.
I do have a very large head.
I'm giving you a hard time.
No, like, medically, it's a significant issue that no doctor has been able to solve.
Uh-oh, version 18 is coming out to kill version 17. It'll have a smaller head. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you love about your job, Rami?
So it's very, very different from client services. I guess maybe this wouldn't be a huge thing for someone else. I really don't know, but I have been. So I've done some product development, but it's still been in the context of I am a developer that's assigned tasks by a company or maybe another developer friend, or overflow from an agency. Like there's a set list of tasks. You finish them, you note your hours or whatever the structure is, and you get paid. Or on the other side of it, as a developer lead, most of my time was, a big project would come in and I would scope something, or looking through what everyone's doing, code reviews, stuff like that. That's your role. Someone's got to do it in certain team and company structures. So doing things like I'm going to spend 2 days researching documentation generators as deeply as I am possible of doing, like to the best of my ability. There's not going to come a point where I'm like, okay, well, these are the ones that are probably available. Why don't you research this and test this one out? If it works, we'll just use it. Those are choices you have to be able to make intelligently in client services contexts. If you want to make a profit at all, you cannot create a cathedral when an apartment is what the client asked for.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yes.
On the other side of it, being given the freedom to do that, and they're not being, generally speaking, expectations every day, like the rapidly changing priorities that are necessary to be effective in client services aren't really here. They're still, For example, one of the first things I did here, because it had been so long since I'd worked on something longer term, was I pretty much took a project and squirreled away into a corner for about a week and just coded on that madly. And then checked in a huge amount of code all at once, which is just a super no-no. It doesn't matter what your company structure is, client or product. Regular check-ins. Here's this thing. Here's this thing. Not because anyone's, necessarily checking up on you or anyone's taking attendance, but so that everyone's always on the same page and has the best context possible. Commit early and often. That's a mantra I've always blabbed, but completely forgot about just because I was in this euphoric 180 miles per hour sort of new phase with this. So there's definitely a balance between the two. I've also realized more on the technical side, some things I've gotten soft at when in a management and lead capacity, which has been a pretty steady few years of that now in varying roles. Unit testing, for example. Man, do I suck at unit testing. There are also some fundamental programming things which blurred a bit that I'm working to resharpen. Things like typecasting two different variables to be absolutely certain they're the same type of thing and they're the same thing, and now you can do whatever you want with them. That as a consistent check that you're running, not a special, okay, this function is really important, I have to make sure to typecast everything, and so on. That should be a common implementation. not passing by reference unless you need to, not arbitrarily value jumping from one array to another, being particularly cautious of performance-related concerns, things like that. That got a little blurry. I mean, it's been a fast track back up, but if there are any directors of engineering, lead developers, stuff like that listening, and you know that you're about to enter a phase of getting back to writing code for most of your day, maybe, just bone up on the fundamentals before you dive right in.
You recently had a bit of an epiphany when it came to productivity and your development environment, and you wrote a little bit about it in your blog. I found that quite intriguing. Can you tell us just a little bit about, what this enlightenment that you had and what changes you made and how it's affected your work life so far?
So, I several years ago was a developer lead at a brick-and-mortar agency, and there were pretty much two types of projects we got. One was really crazy engineering, needed like a detailed scoping phase, and then we would charge them for the technical scoping phase, as you should. And I would do those. I'd break them up into little manageable chunks, and then hand them to whatever developers need to implement stuff. The other side of it was things like creating email newsletters, for example, is a big one, which I'm just like, nope, don't want it. Here you go. Someone take it. Take it away, please. I really don't care about doing this. Eventually, I got to a point where I had to. Some people were on vacation or something, and I realized I had no idea what the hell I was doing anymore. It had been so long that even simple things like in an email, how do different email clients interpret styles and yada, yada, yada. So without that crutch being there, I was completely useless and inefficient. Similarly, getting to my point with that analogy, syntax editors, I have so many linters and auto-completers and different plugins going that when they're off, the stuff was pretty enlightening, and it kept enforcing me to be wary of those standards. So what I did was remove almost every plugin. I happen to use Sublime probably for 3/4 of the thing, and then Vim for any quick inline edits. What I found in knowing that that stuff wasn't there is that I would make sure before committing anything to do my own pre-commit check mentally. I mean, I technically do have a written list. It's the WordPress VIP pre-commit checklist. A friend George gave it to me. But I manually go through that to make sure nothing's amiss. So when you rely on linters and other stuff doing that, not for all people, it's just the kind of person I am. I put it out of my head. Okay, there's a plugin that does this. Frequently, they can miss stuff. Certain types of errors can be suppressed in different IDEs and syntax editors. And then there's, of course, a lot of stuff like code quality, actual quality, that just isn't really checked with any plugin. So setting the tone for myself, no matter what I'm coding, that, okay, I mean, I can do the stream of consciousness, actual implementation, actual writing of the code, creating the logic, now, but once I determine that it's done, then I know that I have to go line by line through everything and check it. And I always find something. There have been several people that have echoed the same sentiment since I wrote the pretty short post, but there have also been people on the other side that essentially make the point that I'm compensating for, I don't know, like a mental disability or something, and I do understand that that argument. Some people can work with the more plugins, the merrier. I mean, we're all, programmers here, and the ultimate goal is to automate stuff. Less work for people, more work for computers. So I certainly recognize that, but the environment of knowing something else has my back was bad. One of the big motivators for it was sort of the cherry on top, where I was like, all right, I'm just gonna disable this stuff. Is two of my coworkers do the very same thing. So that was cool to hear. There are some other friends and colleagues since then that I've asked that are doing the same thing, but never in over a decade have I tried this before. I mean, every time it's happened, it's been incidental. Like, oh crap, a client's whatever is broken, and I'm at my friend's house. Hey, can I use your terrible computer that has none of the crap that I like? Yeah, I'll just download Bob's. This is a bad example because Sublime Text can be downloaded with full functionality for free, but you get the idea. Those were the only times where I wouldn't have all the stuff installed.
But don't you think that's important in order to stay on top of understanding how something works all the time? I mean, I'm always a big proponent of I always tell people, like, for instance, our software is really easy to use, but I say understand what's going on behind the scenes, and that way you don't have to use our software necessarily because you understand what's going on behind the scenes. That tool makes life easier,
Right.
And that's great, and it saves you time, and that's great, but you can't, if this is your vocation, you still always need to stay in touch with understanding why something does what it does. And if you lose touch with that, then you lose your edge.
Yeah, and it's like that is such a better example of this general concept that happens to people than my IDE configuration. I think the most apt experience I have for this is teaching an intro JavaScript course. So it was, I don't know, 90 minutes or so, noting differences like how strings are concatenated in JavaScript, the behaviors of integers in JavaScript. That particular course didn't make any assumptions if you're coming from another weak typed language like PHP or like Java. So like I kept it pretty low level and super unassuming. And at the end of the class, a kid came up to me and said, thanks for teaching the class, and I don't think JavaScript is really for me. I think I'm going to take a jQuery class instead. What do you think of that? So,
And what did you think of that exactly?
I don't even remember what I said. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm sure I tried to politely describe the conflict there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
That's the sort of thing that would happen to me with some of the stuff. And in one case, they had this particular flavor of ES6 transpiler, and it. So the transpiler, you write your wonderful, beautiful, concise ES6 compatible code, and then on whatever trigger, for me it was on save, it'll turn all of that into garbage, just stuff that works with, ECMAScript 5, which you have to do. There's no public ES6, of course, yet. There's stuff you can run it at runtime, and there's stuff that will transpile on save or whatever compilation process you have. And it did it in such a way that it modified the logic, and it broke everything. And I shipped it to a production server on a client's site. I was like, well, the linter's passed, the pre-commit hook's passed, so yeah, so it's good to be without those, in my case.
Fascinating. It's like a constant matter of debate, and when it comes to developers, it's almost surprising to me the more developers I encounter, the more variants of environments and workflows and processes I encounter.
Oh, definitely.
There's just so many. There isn't a right way. There's just this is your way. This is my way. The chances of them being even very much similar or having a lot of overlap are seemingly slim these days.
I think what you just noted there is so sadly underserved as an argument. I mean, there's, on the one hand, people enjoy being pretend mad about this on Twitter and drink a frappuccino and write a Medium post about tabs v spaces or whatever other conjecture.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the healthy. The truth is, it's just a whole bunch of gray. There's every single color of config going on. I think the coding environment is more it's more like okay, so for music stuff, it's another component of my life. I don't have well, this is what I use to write music, and this is what I use to master, and I use this instrument all the time. I write little music notes, I sit on a guitar, and then I sing. For the record, I don't sing, and I never will. And have this static process that you go through every time. Every time, it's whatever feels right, for that particular thing. If I need to take dulcimer and get in a helicopter and cover my hands in almond butter to get the sound I need, then that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes you need a lightweight syntax editor for one thing you're doing. Sometimes you need a different language. Sometimes you need a different computer profile, keyboard profile. I really like that argument.
Do you think the WordPress development community is particularly more of a melting pot, per se, than many other development communities out there that may be more of echo chambers?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty amazing. So the experience I've had, and this has not only been with WordPress in my experience, but a lot of just open web folks, open source people. Pragmatism.
Sure.
Lots of people that are not that, of course. It's something I think that's more common with WordPress folks in general, though. I mean, you have to be a pragmatist in 2016. You have to be practical, pragmatic, and logical to use WordPress as a solution, because it's the big kid in the room. It's the gorilla. It's 25% of the web. So any engineer, any programmer, any developer, for school, you can't use WordPress off the top. You can't, because now you're a dork, or now you're using this common thing. Never mind logic such as, well, perhaps there is a reason for its popularity, such as water filtration methods and the wheel.
Yes.
Like, there's not that. There's, I'm going to make the first Haskell content management system. Or like, I'm going to reinvent these 400 CMS-related methods that have been solved a billion times in almost every language. I'm going to do it myself. It's fun in a way. There's like the hero's saga that you go through doing it, and you have this moment where you announce the project and all this, all this stuff that goes along with it, and the discovery process on the professional development side of things. I mean, around the holiday time last year, late December last year, I do this thing each year where I send a holiday card to whomever decides to sign up, and the destination was a website. I don't know what made me do it, but I rolled my own content management system. Like, I didn't even know what was happening. I mean, it's small. It's like 5 files. The usernames are a hard-coded array with like super strict viewing permissions. But before I even knew it, I was just having such a great time working on it that weekend that before I knew what happened, I was like, okay, wow, I didn't notice this, but I just made a really sloppy, tiny, crappy, insecure version of WordPress accidentally. And it was fun. So I get that. I mean, you want to use whatever hot JavaScript library, and you want to not use the bastard child of the internet, PHP. Like, I mean, I enjoy other languages. I love writing in Python, for example. But if you want to be on budget, if you want to have a rich community, get a quick head start on things, have a wide variety of solutions available, have insane document. I mean, all of these things.
Yeah.
Using what are is a pretty great start. I love PHP. I mean, don't get me wrong. I hate PHP, but I love it. I love JavaScript. I really hate JavaScript, but I love JavaScript. Yeah.
All right. I want to know a little bit before we're out of time, which is coming pretty soon here. I want to know a little bit about some of this music that you produce here. Yeah. Introduce us into the musical world of Rami Abraham. How does it work, man? What sort of stuff do you compose? I was obviously listening to some before the show. Well, where does this come from?
Pretty much analogous to any development projects someone would work on. You get an idea, you sketch it out, come back to it, eventually complete stuff. As incidentally a musician long before writing code, that turned into something I am extremely appreciative for having realized some years ago. So for the longest time, it was I would do my day job, code whatever thing, and then I'd be like, finally, work is over. Now I don't have to write code anymore. Eventually, you realize they're kind of the same thing. Some in very literal, direct ways, like mathematics, as expressions within either form, and the other being that you can just sort of weave the two. So the last couple years has been code powered, like generative audio and textures and musical structures, and then still a little contemporary stuff, like I'll practice Bach on guitar. Just a heads up to any listeners, though, probably not your thing. You might want to skip whatever album of mine you stumble upon. If your musical interests, someone says to you, "Hey, what kind of music do you like?" and you say like one band name, like that's the thing you listen to, please don't listen to any of it. I don't want you to. I know that sounds arrogant, but it'll be better. It'll be better for everyone. You won't like it. I'll know somehow in some spiritual way. I'll be like, ooh, someone just listened to it. That was really horrified. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
You mentioned a lot of parallels between that and development. Are you as diligent with the documentation on the musical side as you write?
Wow, no. It is a chaotic nightmare. So think of something you coded 5 years ago.
Oh no! Oh.
Look to your eyes today. That's what all my code relating to music stuff looks like all the time. I'm just coding in like a stream of consciousness. All I care about is the final output.
I'm pretty sure I coded better 5 years ago than I do today, though. So.
Oh man.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yikes. Yeah. So we are pretty much at our hour here. That time flew by.
That went really fast. You guys got to tell me to shut up.
No.
Flags.
I would love to keep talking, but I gotta go. I got a patio to help my wife build, and I want to be respectful of your time too. That's important as well. So I guess a couple real quick final questions. We like to know if there's any place in this timeline, in this physical realm, where someone might expect to, in this calendar year, encounter you in person.
I am purposely trying to not speak at conferences much. The only thing I have now is as an attendee. WordCamp New York, which is in northern Pennsylvania, and of course WordCamp US. Yeah. Otherwise, I bet I'm the type of person that has like a blog and a Twitter account. Yeah.
Do you have both those things, really?
Yeah. Those were great resources for me as we did our extensive preparation for this episode.
Oh no. So when your personal blog is in that state where you just cringe at really old posts and you're like, oh god, I really need to delete some of this crap. That's where mine has been the last year or two.
I kind of got into the accepting it. That's how it always is.
Yeah.
I actually like it because it reminds me of things that I completely forgot about. So I don't mind. I'm like, oh, we had that kid here. I don't remember him at all.
Yeah.
I mean, like that is kind of endearing. For me, it's more, oh, that's right, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, gosh, the things I cared about. I had no life.
Yeah.
You can tell because I blogged.
Well, that's not entirely true.
No.
It depends on what you blogged about. If you blogged about having no life, then you, in fact, had no life. But
Yeah.
Technically correct.
yes.
Well, there is this like odd intersecting relationship between how much is going on in my life and how much I blog. So obviously, the more interesting my life is, the less that happens on my blog.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Well, I think it all depends on like if you make it a point to blog or not, too. If that's like a priority of yours. If you blog because I got nothing better to do and there's nothing on TV, guess I'll blog. Then yeah, that's But if you blog because you actually have like 3 followers or family members that follow in your shenanigans. I'm not speaking for myself personally because there are no shenanigans in my life, but. But I think that it all depends on your motivation for blogging, and if it's just a time filler, then absolutely, then it can be depressing. I'm sure. So,
there's no doubt.
I do it because I know that I'm losing my mind, and I would like to have a memory of my life. So I would like to be able to go back and revisit, my life when I've forgotten what my life was.
Well, I'm glad you do because I enjoy reading your blog. So there.
Yeah. And Rami, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. I was going to try to talk to you into coming to work at Milwaukee, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. But I'm still going to try to talk to you. It's going to be I can't officially say September 17th that weekend because it hasn't been approved by Central. So I will not say it's going to be the weekend of September 17th, but that is what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try to make that. It's been on the list for a while. I've still never made it. Yeah.
So I think I owe you a drink or something or a dinner or something. So.
Likewise, I'm sure.
What's that?
Likewise, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think the last time I saw you was Miami, so last year.
Yeah. That was a great conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Rami, do you have any recommendations for other amazing guests that I might invite on this show?
Wow, where to start?
Okay.
Without knowing your full roster, quick scan. My employer, I don't know if you guys have heard of him before, but he's sort of new with plugins, just trying to get his footing. His name's Pippin. It's pretty sharp, dude. Have you considered? I'm guessing he's like episode 10 or something. Did you interview him already?
Yeah. A couple years ago.
Well, see, it's been a couple of years. It's the statute of limitations on no repeats, I think, has passed.
Yeah, it's true. So much has changed.
Yeah.
We've had his team is growing.
Well, he's since gotten this guy named Rami and Topher and Drew and all these heavy hitters.
Yeah, Chris and Sean and
I know, right? It's crazy.
And Sonny just joined full time the other day too.
That's right.
Yeah. So rapidly expanding team of absolute all stars.
Yeah, and there's no better guy to go to. I mean, Pippin is deserving of that. He's a great guy. So
yeah,
he's been excellent. Very generous.
Yes. So that's episode 105.
74 folks. Episodes.
Oh. What?
There's lag there. I think I missed.
What did you say? 74 episodes ago was Pippin?
I wouldn't know when. It was probably.
I'm getting really crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we should kill it because we got nothing great to say anymore.
Show's over, folks.
It's been great, Rami. Thank you for joining us for episode 105. You're the best. We'll see you soon.
I think we lost him.